Welcome to Just Start, Get Visible, your go-to resource of the journey to becoming more visible in a way that feels right for you. Hey there, and welcome back to yet another episode of Just Start, Get Visible. It's Jacqueline and Baker here. And welcome to episode number 264. First, let me reorient you into where we're at. We are 3 episodes deep into a really important subject this month. We kicked off this month with episode number 262 with our guest, Kaylan Martin. And we were specifically talking about visibility that feels aligned. In our last episode, we talked about more visibility because that's literally what we are here to do, to talk all about visibility. And in our last week, we dove into our opportunities around being specific about where you need to be. Because a lot of times when I say just start, get visible, we feel like we have to be everywhere. So we talked all about not feeling like visibility means that you have to be everywhere. So naturally, this week, we have to go a bit further. Episode number 264 is all focused on you not stealing, all right? I want you to be honest. Are you borrowing the definition of someone else's success? Are you out here thinking that the only way that I can get visible is if I do it like how somebody else does it? Maybe somebody you're enamored by, someone you're impressed by, and that's fine, but that's theirs, and you can create your own. So officially, welcome to number 264 of Just Start, Get Visible, where I want you to stop borrowing someone else's definition of success. So strap in and let's get to work. Of course, we're continuing in our exploration after our dynamic conversation with Kaylan Martin back in episode 262. And this is the perfect time for me to invite you to go backwards. If you're thinking, you know what, I want to be in this. Like I want to deeply be into all the conversations that we're having this month. Just rewind back, which means that you need to head over to JacquelineandBaker.com/263. And then maybe you want to watch or listen to 262. And then maybe you want to watch or listen to 263. And then you can catch up to 264. But if you're like, no, I want to dive right into this today, that's fine too. But feel free to rewind backwards if you want to. I know that when I say get visible, a lot of things flow through a lot of people's minds. I know that images of stages and images of being everywhere and images of feeling like you need to document your whole life float into a lot of people's minds. And I am saying that that is not what I am asking you to do at all. All right. One of the things that stood out in the episode with Kaylan was the realization that many of us have in years pursuing success without ever really stopping to ask ourselves a simple question. And that question is this what I really want? And we just build these lives based on these decisions that we made, and we never pause. We never stop and say, wait a minute, is this really what I want? And am I even operating and firing on all cylinders based on what I truly want to do and based on what I really care about, right? Do we have a chance to pause and redirect? And many times we do, we just feel like we don't. When we ask ourselves the question, is this what I really want? I do recognize that it can be a difficult question because so much of what we call success has already been defined for us, right? I mean, think about the titles that you might be associated with, the promotions that maybe you're clamoring for or you think you should be clamoring for, the awards, the recognition, the incomplete milestones, right? If we go even to social media, our followers, right? Our visibility or what we're defining to be visibility at this very moment and our accomplishments. And let's be clear, none of these things are inherently bad. In fact, many of them can be wonderful. And I'm proud of you for achieving any of the things that were on that list or beyond. The challenge comes when we pursue them because we believe they're supposed to matter rather than because they actually matter to us. And do they really matter to us, right? And in the grand scheme of things, they're great accomplishments, but do they really matter to us personally? Today's episode is about recognizing when you've borrowed someone else's definition of success and how to begin creating one that genuinely fits into your life. So if that feels good to you, let's get to work. We're going to make 6 stops today. Normally we have like a 3 to 5 point plan. Today I was like, it's important enough for us to make 6 stops today. So let's roll. I want you to think about our first stop, which is all rooted in the fact that success is often handed to us before we ever define it. I mean, think about it. Primary school, right? Grade school, middle school, high school, college, college in an advanced degree setting, what is considered a win or success at our jobs and in our workplace. Like a lot of times, success is often handed to us before we ever define it for ourselves. Most of us inherited our definition of success long before we even questioned it, right? Long before we had the opportunity to question it. We learned it from our families, right? We learned it from our friend circles, our workplaces, our communities, social media, for good or for bad, professional organizations, the people we admire, the people we envy. And sometimes we become so incredibly focused on achieving the next thing that we never really stop to ask ourselves whether we're climbing the right ladder, like the ladder that we want to climb. Because we see all these other ladders that people are climbing. We see all these other people getting visible in a way that feels right for them, right? And we don't really stop to think, like, is this the ladder that I'm actually supposed to be on? And you may have experienced this for yourself. Think about it. Perhaps you hit a goal. Perhaps you received a promotion. Perhaps you reached a milestone. Perhaps you earned a recognition. And instead of being like fulfilled, you feel strangely disconnected. It's like, oh, I did this, check, check, and now let me move on. But it's like, did I ever really want to do it in the first place? Right? You're not really happy about it. It's like, wait, where's the happiness in this? Where's the joy in this? But not fully satisfied either, right? It's not like you're like, oh, I'm mad that I did this, but it's like, wait, where's that? I'm not satiated, right? I don't feel fulfilled overall. And that's often the first sign that you're living according to the definition of success that belongs to someone else, right? Where you're just like, wait, that didn't really fill me up. That didn't fuel me. Because let's just be honest here, achievement and alignment are not always the same thing. All right. I talk a lot about transactional leadership styles. In my work at Scarlett, I talk about leadership styles a lot. And having a transactional leadership style is actually one of the styles that you can adopt. And sometimes it works, but it is all based on rewards and outcomes. And so think about it. If you have a team or a family member or a friend circle that's just like, okay, if I get this, then I get that, right? If you give me this, then I get that. It's a bit transactional. And for some teams, right, those that might be highly competitive or those that root in, all right, if I achieve this and I get that, like that works for them. Works in friend circles, works even in relationships too. But not everybody's like that. Or maybe we grow out of that. And so that's the reason why I even talk about in my leadership world how we have to be flexible in our leadership styles when we're a people leader for others, because not everybody is motivated in that way. So achievement and alignment is the same thing. It's the same feeling when it's misaligned, then perhaps you aren't actually getting out of it what you really want to get out of it. And it's not always the same thing. You can achieve something extraordinary, which I encourage that for you, and still feel disconnected from yourself. So that's the first stop I want you to mentally make, is the fact that success is often handed to us before we ever define it for ourselves. And we have an opportunity to redefine it, but sometimes we don't, right? And then you end up in communities like Just Start Get Visible, and then you get tools to think about it differently and hopefully start to feel a bit more satiated by getting visible in a way that feels right for you. But I want you to think about this. The signs that you might be chasing someone else's success can look like a few things. And so now is a great time for us to just level set and be honest about, am I chasing someone else's success? And I'm going to give you some signs. So let's talk about the common indicators. The first sign could be that you constantly move the finish line, right? No accomplishment is ever enough. I have absolutely fallen prey to this before, of just feeling like more, more, more. As soon as you reach one goal, you're immediately focused on the next one instead of like living in it for a second. Not because you're excited, okay, but because you're afraid to stop. Like, let me just keep going and keep going and keep going. Instead of like, oh, okay, I accomplished it. Let me like sit in this for a second. No, like there's an infatuation. I know you want to use the addiction word, but this infatuation with more. The other sign is that you spend more time comparing than creating. And this can be real subtle. I even want you to think about it from a personal standpoint. If someone says something like, oh, I got these new pair of shoes, and your mind immediately goes to like, oh, I could never wear shoes like that. Instead of like, that's that person's situation. That's their scenario. They didn't ask you if you could wear these shoes or not, right? So do you spend more time comparing than creating? You find yourself measuring your progress against everyone else's. Someone gets a promotion, someone launches a business, someone publishes a book, someone speaks on a big stage, and suddenly your own accomplishments feel smaller, right? When that's them. Like that is their definition of success. That doesn't have anything to do with you. It's a proof point of what's possible out in the world and for the human race, but it's not a reflection of you. It's literally what they've decided for their path and their journey. I want you to think about number three. You feel pressure to maintain appearances. Ooh, this is a touchy one, right? Because we don't like to look good. But consider this. Are you more concerned with how success looks than how it feels? Because it can look incredible and it really might feel terrible, right? You continue doing things that no longer bring fulfillment because you've been attached to the image of it. And another way to think about this too is I spoke about this in episode number 262 with Kaylan about how a lot of the conversations that I have with people that enter my world and want to start something are often rooted in not this fear of starting, but this fear of losing the identity that they previously built. When in fact, what they really want is something completely different, and getting visible will help them get there. But there's also this notion of, oh, if I move in this direction, then I lose this. But the question is, do you want that anymore? Is it just this feeling or this appearance to this title, to this position, to this company, right? To this situation? You want the appearance of it, but is that truly underneath the surface what you really want? And four, does your life look successful from the outside, but it feels exhausting on the inside, right? I know I'm going like really personal on that one, but sometimes that's where we're at. And we have to ask ourselves, is this a signal that I need to be paying attention to? Because this is often the most important signal. When you're almost trapped inside your body or trapped inside your decisions, like if your version of success requires you to constantly abandon yourself and who you know you really are, right? None of these signs mean that you failed. Let's be clear. They simply suggest it's just time for an evaluation because we can change. Like even when we feel trapped in whatever, like we do legit have the ability to change. And so I don't want you to feel any kind of way. Like I'm asking you to neutralize your feelings after going over that list because I know it felt a little bit heavy. But instead, I want us to think about what can we do to shimmy on up out of that to make sure that we're moving towards a direction of getting visible and aligned in a way that feels right for us. But I do want us to be clear about the external validation trap, right? Because this is another one that often we get caught up in. This is our point number three. One thing I know for sure is that one of the reasons that it can be difficult to redefine success is because external validation, let's just call it, it feels good. Recognition feels good. Praise feels good. Awards, they feel good. Positive feedback, yes, yes, please. There's nothing wrong with appreciating those things. And I want you to appreciate those things, especially if you have the privilege of being in a circle where you get access to those things, especially in a loving way. The problem occurs when the validation becomes the primary source of direction, where you're looking for that, right? You're hungry for that. And that is the only way that your direction is validated. Because maybe the praise that they're giving you is actually keeping you in a space that you don't truly want to be, but that temporary praise feels good. When validation becomes the goal, we often stop listening to ourselves, right? We're waiting for the applause, but the applause could be clapping for you to not do what you really want to do, right? So instead of asking, what do I want? We ask ourselves, what will impress people, right? Instead of asking what feels meaningful, we fall into this gap of asking ourselves, what will get the most attention, right? Instead of asking what aligns with my values, and I talk about values quite a bit, like back in episode number 262, we ask like, what will make me look successful? And the challenge is that that external validation is unpredictable because we can't control when someone claps for us or not, or when somebody praises us. We want them to, but we can't control that. We can receive applause as one day, and let's be real, we can receive criticisms the very next day. And so you can receive recognition for one accomplishment and then complete silence from another one that actually you think was way more meaningful, right? I'll give you a prime example of this. It's actually just silly, but serious. I feel like on the gram, right? If you don't follow me on Instagram, I invite you to Instagram.com/@magicaljacks, right? I gave you the whole URL though. Just hit me at magicaljacks over on the gram, okay? Sound way cooler that way. Anyway, I've noticed a couple of posts that I've made recently that I guess have, by definition of viral, gone viral, right? Completely unexpected, not in any shape, form, or fashion on subjects that I typically post about. One was about one time I had to leave my phone or leave my car, excuse me, in a parking garage at the airport for 2 weeks unexpectedly. And I ended up with a $511 bill. The second one was this trip that we took to celebrate my husband Mark's 50th birthday party in Mexico. 88 people came. We invited them to a speakeasy. And both of these posts have received so much attention. Like one of them crossed 1.4 million views. People are still commenting on it like months later. It's actually sort of fascinating. And if I got caught all up in my feelings about the fact that I really believe that I post meaningful content to help people start to see themselves as leaders, even in the etiquette space, to give people more confidence in hosting. Like I post really meaningful, thoughtful content in these. And those posts don't get nearly as much attention as these two rando posts here. But if I was constantly seeking validation to get posts or to get attention at the level of these two viral posts, like I would continue posting that type of content when in fact, I'm not out here trying to be a comedian. Were those funny and ha ha, right? And it showed, us traveling with our friends. Sure. And it was a good time and we're probably going to do it again. However, those subjects aren't constantly fueling me up. Right. I'm not a travel content creator. I'm not somebody who talks about parking rates, right? In parking garages at airports. Like that's not my thing. But if I was looking for the applause and simply going after the likes, right? And the shares and the views, then mine would be all in my feelings about the fact that this meaningful content that I post about leadership and etiquette and all these other things that get substantially less attention, like I will be all in my feelings about it. And I'm not in my feelings about it. Like I'm very clear about what the impact that I want to make here on earth, the types of things that I post about, right? And I will be all in my feelings about the fact that, oh my gosh, like I got all this recognition, right, for these rando funny posts. And I would be seeking that type of recognition in other places. And I'm not. I'm posting good stuff in areas that I feel like I have expertise and impact. So if your definition of success depends entirely on the response of others, you'll spend your life chasing a finish line that just keeps moving, right? And let's be honest, the algorithm keep moving overall. So I really want you to digest that. Think about that. Are you caught up in the external validation trap, right? Are you just seeking external validation? And I get it. It does feel good sometimes, but is it what you use to direct your actions? Is it what you use for direction? Or do you temporarily like sit in it and appreciate the applause and then move along? Okay. Because here is one thing that I know for sure, and it's our number 4. Every season of our life, season of our careers, of our relationship requires a new definition of success. Okay. And one of the biggest lessons that I've learned is that success is not static. The definition that served you 10 years ago may not and probably won't serve you today. That definition that served you 10 years ago, right? 5 years ago, 2 years ago might not serve you today. The definition that served you before you became a leader may not serve you now. And leader means a lot of different things: individual contributor, people leader. The definition that served you while building a business may not serve you during a season of restoration when you built and now you're like, okay, I need to restore myself, my business, my processes. Like the definition might be a bit different. The definition that served you when your children were young may not serve you as an empty nester. Because let's face it, life changes. And our definitions of success should be allowed to evolve with it. Because sometimes success is growth. Sometimes success is stability. Sometimes success is impact. Sometimes success is healing. Sometimes success is creating margin. I try as much as possible to create margin right now in my life because I live with a human who's retired and he got a whole lot of margin. And so I want to enjoy life with him while also building this business that means so much to me. But it requires me to create some margin, not just for that pocket of my life, but for my friends, right? And for my family. So sometimes success is simply experiencing joy. I've been on a journey of creating pockets of joy, not just for myself, but for other people as well. The goal is not to find a permanent definition. The goal is to create a definition that reflects who you are right now. And if we're busy comparing and borrowing and stealing other people's success, then are you creating what you need in the moment, not just copying someone else? I encourage you to think about building a joy centered decision framework. I want you to go deep with me for a second. And I know when we hear the word framework, we're like, oh my gosh, like, am I at work? Blah, blah, blah. You're not. Okay. This is still for you personally. I do believe that one of the most powerful parts of Kaylan's story was the decision to prioritize joy. And if you watched or listened to that episode, you probably heard me perk up when I heard her talk about joy, because I do think joy is really important. And I do believe that many times we have to schedule joy, because if not, we get on this wheel of doing things over and over and over again that may not be serving us well from a joy standpoint, and we have to prioritize it back in. Joy isn't always serendipitous. We want it to be, but it isn't always. I think many people hear that joy piece and assume it means making every decision based on happiness. And I am not a woo-woo person in that way. That's not what I'm talking about right now. Joy is deeper than this momentary happiness. Joy asks a few simple questions. It asks, does this decision that I'm about to make move me closer to the life that I want to build? All right. Does it align with my values? Does it support who I'm becoming? Like, and looking ahead, does it support that? Does it create energy rather than consistently draining me? And I get it. Sometimes we got to do hard things, but does it create energy? A joy centered framework doesn't mean every decision is easy. Okay. I still be doing hard stuff out here, but it means your decisions are aligned, right? I want you to think about this simple framework. I told you I was going to talk about framework. Let's get into it. When evaluating like opportunities for visibility, I encourage you to ask just a few questions that I still ask myself, right? And one of them is, does it align with my values? I share what my 5 core values are in episode 262: freedom, love, making a difference, reciprocity, security. Rattle them off quick, because I rock with those values. And I often ask myself, like, Jacqueline, based on this thing you're about to do, does it align with your values? Because these are things that guide my life, guide my decisions. And if I'm about to do something and it doesn't align with it, eventually down the line, it's probably going to erode my desire to have joy, right? Does it support the season that I'm currently in? Something may have served you well, been joyful for you 5 to 10 years ago, but does it support the season that you're currently in? Does it contribute to the impact that you want to make? Like, the real impact you want to make, not the impact that you're copying from other people. All right. Does it create more meaning in your life overall? Whatever meaning needs to you. And does this leave room for joy? Or is it like, it's not going to be no joy in this? If the answer is consistently no, right, from all of those, because maybe you choose to take an average, that opportunity may not belong in your current chapter. Right. And that's okay. It's okay. But it does give you a quick set of questions to benchmark your decisions against, instead of just doing stuff because you saw someone else do it. I want you to define success for yourself in our section 6, our last section. And I'll offer a simple exercise, a really simple one. Clearly, we're taking all the action today with the exercises and frameworks and all the things. I want you to take out a notebook. And if you want to pause and come back to it as you're completing it, feel free to. Just take out a notebook, open up your notes app. For some of us who choose to open up an email and send ourselves an email to complete things and get them done, I know how it is. I used to do that a lot before I adopted Asana, our task management software. Whatever you need to do to document and complete this statement, I want you to do it. Okay. Success in this season of my life means, and complete it. Success in this season of my life means, okay, not 5 years ago, not 10 years from now, not for your industry, not for your family, not for social media, for you right now. I am asking you to be positively selfish. I sit in a space where I have the privilege of giving you the power of selfishness. I'm not saying to be a consistently selfish person, but in this moment, I'm saying for you, success in this season of my life means what? Because success means leading with greater confidence. It means protecting your peace. It means strengthening relationships. It means building something meaningful. It means sometimes working less, right? Saying no to stuff. Sometimes it means trying something new. And you all know that I love the idea of you trying something new. It's literally my trademarks just started on the wall right now, right? It means finding joy again. There is no universal correct answer. There is only the answer that reflects your current reality. So if you haven't already, I invite you to pause in this moment and complete the statement. Success in this season of my life means what? Okay. We covered a lot of meaty stuff today in a short period of time. And so it's only right that we just do a really, really quick recap. I want you to think about the fact that success is often handed to us before we ever define it, because there's often this environmental or cultural or circumstantial set of situations or expectations of what success is. And I do understand that there are certain gateways, parameters, things that we cross that allow us to get access to other things, right? We graduate from high school, right? We graduate from college, some of us, and we feel like, okay, that sets us up for X. But success is often handed to us before we ever define it for ourselves. And so now is a good time, after we have been programmed to believe success means X, now it's time for you to redefine what it really means for you. I want you to think about number two and really reflecting on the fact that there are some signs that you might be chasing someone else's success. And are you, right? I want you to get out of the external validation trap. I want you to remember that every season requires a new definition of success because it's a new season. It's new. And so using the same framework that we used to use or using the same set of standards for what something else was for this season, it's not going to serve us well. Requires a different definition of success. I encourage you to build a joy-centered decision framework. Right? Does it align with my values? Does this support the current season that I'm in? Does this contribute to the impact I want to make? Does this leave room for joy? Just asking yourself a set of questions. And if most of the answers to that are no, this might not be for you. Okay. I invite you to define success for yourself by completing one simple statement. Success in this season of my life means what? Before we close out, I want to leave you with just 3 questions. I know I've asked you a lot of questions this time, but just 3 more, I promise. What success goal am I currently pursuing? What success goal am I currently pursuing? Who originally defined that goal? Was it me or was it somebody else? And if nobody were watching, would I even still want it? That last question can be incredibly revealing because sometimes the things we truly want become visible because we remove the audience. All right. We become more comfortable when we remove the audience. I have such a relevant analogy to this. And I mentioned this example in episode 262 in my Pilates journey. I've been sharing that I've been on this Pilates journey for a little over a year, and I've really enjoyed doing Pilates. If you haven't tried it, give it a try. It can be a lot, but it's great. It's great for where I'm at right now in my fitness and health journey. And recently we moved to a new studio. My Pilates studio moved, and in our very first session, the mirrors weren't up. And so we were doing the exercises and I felt pretty comfortable about everything that I was doing because I didn't have this audience, right, of myself and of others comparing what I was doing. Like I feel like I was pushing it to the limit, right? Because I wasn't constantly self-correcting. And I know there is some magic of correcting to make sure your form is right in Pilates, but this wasn't that. Like this was me like literally focusing way more on things I didn't need to focus on. I removed the audience. And so if you know that removing an audience will change what you know to be success or what you want success to be, what does that tell you about yourself? Okay. As we wrap up today's episode, I want you to remember that success is not something you inherit. It's not something you inherit. It's something that you have the opportunity to define for yourself. And your current definition just might not fit where you're at, but you are allowed to change it. You are allowed to evolve. You're allowed to choose differently. You're allowed to build a life and a visibility opportunity that reflects your values rather than someone else's expectations. Because success feels incredibly different when it belongs to you, doesn't it? Not because it's bigger, not because it's more impressive, but because it's aligned. So I want to thank you for joining me for yet another episode of Just Start Get Visible. I know that this was a heavy, meaty one, but I really wanted to go deep here. Because we are often comparing ourselves to this person and that person, and social makes it so much easier to do that. But as I'm challenging you to just start and get visible in a way that feels right for you, I invite you to come up with your own definition of success using a lot of the tools and frameworks that I gave you in this episode number 264. So listen, wherever you're at in the world, I hope that you're safe. I hope that you're healthy and I hope that you're well. And I certainly hope that you're giving yourself permission to start the things that you want to do and get visible in a way that feels right for you. You take care of yourself. And of course, I'll see you again soon. Ciao. Welcome to Just Start, Get Visible, your go-to resource of the journey to becoming more visible in a way that feels right for you.